Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today, and this is a fairly unique edition of a kind of an older edition Bible in a kind of older style of synthetic leather, and one that I think I've done a review on something similar before. But let's go ahead and get into it. We'll take a look. As far as the box goes, it is a two-piece box. It does have this kind of simulated silk moire paper on top. You can see it's not quite as like shiny or sheeny as real silk moire is, but it's kind of a simulated look to it there. We do have on the end our little information about the Bible there. We do have maps, helps, and 8 colored plates. We have self-pronouncing Holy Bible, and then the item number, which is number 214G. It is a Brevier blackface type, and then it does have art leather, which I guess is short for artificial leather, and then Divinity Circuit. Now, for those of you who don't know, Divinity Circuit is what they used to call Yapp back in the day. And you would have had another type of Bible called a Circuit Rider. Was a Bible that the Yapp was so long on one side that it would actually fold over, and then you'd have like the 2 tassels that would kind of wrap the Bible and would kind of enclose it like an envelope almost. You still see some of those in some journaling Bibles nowadays. They're still kind of around, but that is a Circuit Rider Bible, and this is Divinity Circuit, would just be what they call the Yapp. On the inside of the Bible, you can see my most hated way of preserving a Bible. So I think I've made jokes about this before in the past. But this is probably the worst way of doing it. These are actual like blocks of wood that have been glued in here. And they did that to try and train the Yapp to give it some shape. And that's just a terrible way of doing that. I don't know why they would have ever done that in the first place. Bugs and termites and mold. Just too many different things that are going on. Not to mention it's these kind of hard points on the leather. And it makes it real funky. And you can kind of see there on the bottom what it did to the Bible over the years of just being, just kind of being shoved in the box. It's horrible. Horrible is a good word for it. I definitely do not appreciate those little kind of blocks that they would put in there to do that, to train the Yapp in such an unnatural manner. It's just kind of weird. But that's what they used to do. That's how it was stored. This is what we got. It's what it is, right? We can't help that. Let me just be a little particular about my surroundings. But so we have Poromeric. So I think I've mentioned Poromeric before. But Poromeric is a very old school way of doing a synthetic leather. And so what it is, if you look really closely, you might be able to see it here, but it's kind of like a substrate material was placed down, like maybe a fabric of some kind. And then on top of that material, they would have poured this kind of maybe like a polyurethane or something like that, and then stamped it or, somehow imprinted or impressed the kind of the fake leather texture there. So it's a very unique way of doing things, and it's a very old school way of doing things. And Poromeric definitely does not hold up over the years. It is durable in a sense, but eventually what happens is you end up with this substrate material that's colored black, and that remains fairly well, right? It sticks around fairly well. However, you can kind of see a little bit here. Maybe you'll certainly see by the end of the review that black sort of polyurethane material. It's so old. It's degraded over the years, so it starts flaking off, and you end up with these little black flakes all over the place. So Poromeric, the easiest way to tell if it's a Poromeric edition is always to check here. You can usually see the wear up on the top kind of edge here. And then usually kind of on these corners too, you can see the texture kind of coming through there. And usually people will provide good enough pictures to be able to, you'll be able to tell that it's a Poromeric Bible. However, I will say that a lot of times people, if you're not a Bible aficionado, Bible nerd, you're not going to know the difference. So a lot of times people will label these as leather Bibles. And I can't tell you how many Poromerics or artificial leathers or whatever I've gotten over the years. And then once I receive it, I'm like, man, I should have looked a little better at the pictures. So certainly do your due diligence when you see pictures. Another tell is whenever you see these really hard kind of bends like this, leather will not do that. Maybe if it's really dried out and really old and it's poorly stored, you might get something similar to this. But for the most part, it won't be like this extreme, like these extreme hard bends. You tend to just see this in the artificial leathers. So that's your, 2 bits of information for this review. So let's get started. We'll continue on, I guess, in the informational aspect of things. You can see too that the kind of the print here for Holy Bible and pronouncing, as well as the Holy Bible on the spine there, they're wearing away. And that's another thing I've noticed with Poromeric is whatever they used to imprint Holy Bible and whatever else onto the spine, it does not hold up well over the years at all. So if you ever see like an older Bible like this and it's got nice crisp gold letterings, that is probably not a Poromeric Bible. If you see like this, we're starting to fade and kind of rub away and wear off, it is probably a artificial cover leather material. So that, and also if you can see here, a red edge. This is another thing they did to save cost. Obviously, instead of putting gold on the page edge, they just dyed it red. So if you ever see a red page edge like this, it is definitely not a leather. I have never seen a leather cover. Now, I could be wrong, obviously, because there's always a chance for that. But I have never personally seen a leather edition with red on the page edge and not gold. Usually if it's gold, more than likely it's leather. Not always. More than likely it's leather. If you ever see red, it is like, at least as far as everyone that I've seen, if you see red page edges, it is not a real leather cover. So that's another kind of tell, another gimme, or gotcha, as the case may be. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the cover leather, or I said the cover material, the Poromeric. You can see there's a little perimeter line there. And it does have this kind of offset Holy Bible pronouncing. It has those kind of hard lines, everything I pointed out before. On the spine, we have just Holy Bible, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of kind of rib indications there that are really just kind of pressings down into that Poromeric material when it was still pliable and wet, I would imagine. On the back, you have the continuation of that fake grain, obviously a fake grain, and the continuation of the perimeter line. Kind of weird because the perimeter line is so far off from the edge of the book block. I always like it when the perimeter line is like right on the edge of the book block, or if not, at least equidistant. You know, here, like from the top to the bottom, it looks fairly equidistant, but on this edge, it's longer than the other two, and it just kind of looks off. They should have at least, brought it over a little bit. But, what am I going to do? Create a time machine, go back in time 70 years or longer? Who knows? All right, certainly not me, not I. Yeah, as far as other features go, we have white head and tail bands. It is a fairly nice addition. It has held up fairly well over the years. It was box stored, so I would imagine it didn't leave that box very often. We do have the white head and tail bands, and then that nice, beautiful, deep red color for the page edge. Very nicely done red dye there. On the bottom, more of the same. There are no ribbons. When we get into it, you can see that corner work is, not the best, not the greatest. We do have, I don't know, they're kind of pleated there, but they're kind of rough and tumble. As far as the paper goes, it almost, it's just like a matte black paper. I would almost say like a beetle kind of paper, because it does kind of have that kind of felty texture to it. Maybe a very light kind of texture as far as that beetle paper is concerned. We do have a mark there of $1. So at some point, this was a $1 Bible. Who's to say when? Certainly not now. The times they are a-changing. So we'll go ahead and get into the Bible. We have just the end sheet there. And then it goes right into an illustration there with a verse reference for Matthew 19, or at least just a chapter reference, not really a verse reference. Turn the page and there's another illustration. And these are unique in the sense that they're full color. Now, I did notice this. They do repeat. So you have that same illustration twice. I'm not sure if that was just an oops in this particular example, or if that's how they all are for these examples of Bibles. But it is nice that they are full color illustrations, especially given the fact that this is a more entry-level edition. And I think that there were some other ones repeated. Yeah, so this one is also repeated. You can see here, Jesus washing the disciples' feet. There's several illustrations at the beginning. Then it goes right into the title page. And it is produced by the World Syndicate Publishing Company, which is just World Bibles for short. Printed in the United States of America by the Commercial Bookbinding Company in Cleveland, Ohio. We have our table of contents in alphabetical order. Then we have the first book of Moses called Genesis. Gets right into it. We'll go ahead and take a look. The text. Got a couple pages in here to see what it's all about. So we have the book and then the ending chapter number on each page. So you notice here this has chapter 5, chapter 6, and then just a little bit of chapter 7. Well, look, it's not even the ending. It's just the kind of, I don't know, maybe the main chapter on that page. Because you do have a portion of 5 and a portion of 7, but it specifies only Genesis 6 here. So I guess it's just a roundabout, good enough sort of thing. You have the page numbers at the top center. You do have running headers up at the top, just of the on the gutter columns there. You also have a little kind of a chapter summary there underneath the chapter. So you have chapter 5, and then you have the genealogy of the patriarchs. It is a double column verse by verse, and then they are using Pilcrow markers to indicate the new paragraphs. It is a pronouncing text. You can see all of the little indicators there as well. The subject headers are the little chapter headers. You only have at the beginning of the chapters. They're not throughout the text. It's just at the beginning of the chapter. Let's go ahead and flip through. You can see the page has kind of oxidized. And this is one that I remember. Yep, there we go. So this is why you should never store anything in your Bible. So this is probably the most extreme example of a Bible that I have that has had this happen. And if I remember correctly, this wasn't even, I'm trying to think. I have a ephemera video. Maybe I'll post a thing for it here, a little doodad. But I have an ephemera video, and there's one specific bookmark that I call out as being like particularly bad. It's like a brown bookmark with some like little spot colors on it, and then it has like some little tassels at the bottom, and it's just like a thick paper bookmark. But for whatever reason, that bookmark caused this. And essentially what this is just burning from whatever chemicals that were in that bookmark. They kind of leached down to this paper, and it burned this paper. So that's why I say, never use bookmarks of any kind. I wouldn't even trust. I mean, unless you made the bookmark yourself and you know that the paper is pH neutral, I wouldn't use any bookmarks. I wouldn't use newspaper or even like printer paper, nothing. Just don't even use bookmarks. Use a ribbon marker, right? We have them for a reason, although this Bible is absent of the ribbon markers, which might be why they use the bookmark to begin with. But this person just put that bookmark in there, and it stained like several pages in each direction. So I would definitely not recommend putting a bookmark in. The one that got me the most kind of irritated and kind of reminds me of this is Skylar recently did, or not recently, maybe within the last year, they did an edition of some zipper Bibles, and then they included with that a leather bookmark. And while that looks pretty and the idea is nice, and yes, it's Skylar and it's going to be a very nice bookmark, I would stay as far away from putting that bookmark into your nice $200 Skylar as you possibly can, because leather is an acidic product. It's always acidic. The process in which they tan leather hides is an acidic process. So you have all of those acidic chemicals in that leather, right, that have leached into that leather to create a leather product. And if you take that leather and use it as a bookmark, you're going to end up with something very similar to this over the years. So again, stay away from all bookmarks, but certainly stay away from leather bookmarks. Again, if you have to have a bookmark, it's something that for sure is a pH neutral bookmark, or ribbon marker works great, or I don't know, maybe even like I don't know. Everything has its, even if you use paper clips, I've seen paper clips over the years, and paper clips do the same thing because the paper clip will rust, and then it'll leave a rust mark on your page, and usually it ends up tearing the sheet also just from moving your Bible around. So don't use paper clips either. There's ribbon markers. Use ribbon markers. Put some ribbons in your Bible. It's an easy process. I'll make a video on it one of these days, hopefully, God willing. But yeah, let's go ahead and keep flipping. I get distracted by so many little teaching points here and there within my Bibles. We'll keep going. You can see that wonderful page edge die, man, and I love that when it's stair step like this, where you have you kind of get that striping. It's called stair stepping. You can see it here. It looks very nice. I love it when you can see like the individual signatures like that and individual sections of paper pages. Let's go ahead and get to Psalms 119. And there we are. Now they do not have the Hebrew letters. They just have the transliterated words there. So you can see, we'll take a look at the paper. This paper is a very nice paper. Goodness, it's not indicated to be India paper or anything like that, but World Bibles back in the day really did have some stellar paper selections. And this is certainly no slouch. You can see that there is no show through. I can't see anything on the opposite side. I mean, maybe like just kind of a haze of something right there, ever so slightly. But certainly this is one of the better non-India papers that you will see is World Bibles. One of the only problems I've noticed with this particular edition and some of the older World editions is the print consistency. Let me see if I can get a good example of it. Or print uniformity, as R. Grant Jones puts it. You can see it's kind of darker here and darker here, but as we kind of flip through it, you'll see some pages like here where it's a little light, especially on this edge. You can see it's fairly light. So they weren't very consistent with their prints. But the paper man is it's through the roof. Very nice paper. All right, let's get to the beginning of Matthew. Went a little too far. I get distracted. So we have the end of Malachi. Then we have your family register. Again, I dislike when they put it in the middle because people will fill it out and then people won't check. And then you get a Bible that you think is like new, and in reality it isn't. But this one is clear and free, as you guys can see. So we have births and marriages and deaths. And then we have our New Testament title page. And the Gospel according to St. Matthew. And this is a black letter text, so you're not going to see anything crazy there. As far as crazy red letters. Nice black presentation. But we'll keep flipping through. And the paper itself has oxidized, which again is another reason why we know that it's not India paper. You can see the kind of the color differentiation there. But still a very nice paper in that it's very opaque, extremely opaque. And it makes me wonder, like, if this is an India paper, I don't know if it is or not, but if this is an India paper, why at least aren't they doing Bible paper like this? Whatever process this was to produce this. So we have the end of the Bible. Then we have, this is really unique. I like this feature a lot. But this is all of the revisions between the King James Version and the Revised Version. So it shows you kind of verse by verse where they made the revisions. I think that was a really neat way to handle it without having like a whole separate text for the RV. I need a better setup, y'all. Not even gonna lie. Yeah, go start back again. You guys can feel free to pause. If you want to read any specific examples or entries. Although I do notice at the top here, it does say some of the passages changed in the Revised Version. So I don't know that if this is going to have all of them or just the major changes. If you guys haven't studied up on changes over the years, there's been quite a few changes, even to the King James Version. There was many different editions of the KJV released. And then even among Bible producers, they tend to use their own version of the KJV. So we have a brief summary of the characteristics of the books of the Old and New Testament. Very brief. Just a quick rundown. Sometimes I wish I had more time in my life to read through all this stuff. I'd love to see what these kind of the different views are on it. Then we have the Bible Reader's Aids. From Malachi to Matthew, a little article on the intertestamental period, Jewish sects and their beliefs. These look very familiar, so they're probably articles that we've seen before. Proving the Old Testament, the Sunday school teacher's use of the Bible, the Christian worker and his Bible, some verse references there for different things, text for special cases, it said, 40 questions answered from the Word of God, items of information concerning the Bible. And we have separate little sections there, one on Palestine, Jewish festivals and festivities, Jewish feasts and festivals, divisions of time, harmony of the Gospels. This same exact chart has been used so many times over the years. Weights, Monies, and Measures, Parables and Miracles of the Bible. And then it kind of wraps up. You got a blank sheet there, one blank sheet, two blank sheets, and then your maps. These are kind of the colorful world maps that we've seen before. Fairly basic. Colorful, but not too colorful. I feel like I'm going to say that. I'm going to turn the next page. It's going to be like a crayon box melted. And this is like a kind of glossy, very thick sheet of paper. So you have to be careful what writing implements you choose to use on it. And only this last one is really hard to make out. And some of these, good luck. I mean, try reading some of those names. There's plenty of information in there, but there's just a lot going on. We have our end sheet. No item number or anything like that. And that's it. So, very unique edition. I love the Poromeric. I think it's a very unique kind of historical presentation of Bible cover material. Let me get a measurement. I'll open up these Yapps. Get a full measurement there. So with the Yapps expanded, it's like 8.5 inches tall by just over 5.5 inches wide. And just under 1.5 inches thick. Lovely red color. Look at that. Beautiful color red. Get a measurement of the letters, the text size. Not the most impressive. Coming in about 8.5 point versus Times New Roman for the uppercase. And for the lowercase, yeah, right about 8.5 point. Maybe about a 9 point for the lowercase. So about a 9 point font all the way around versus Times New Roman for this text. 9 point isn't terrible, especially for this maybe mid-size or hand size. I still got to come out with that rubric and be consistent with it more than anything. Yeah, so a neat addition, Poromeric. Again, it can be tricky. If you're looking for Poromeric is easy to find. If you're looking for a low-cost leather vintage edition, be wary of Poromerics because they will appear very similar if you're not looking closely to some of those things I pointed out. And you will be disheartened if you're expecting leather and you get Poromeric. You're going to learn very quickly they are not the same thing. As far as tactility goes, it is a very tactile, very deep kind of faux grain. It is very grippy. It almost feels like a kind of like a rubber material, which essentially it is. It's like a polyurethane. So definitely a very secure grip in your hand with this edition. Bible Buddies, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. Otherwise, until next time, bye.